Got it.
Howdy, howdy.
Howdy, guys.
Howdy ho.
It's been
The
a,
chat is coming to us from a beach in somewhere.
yeah, I have no idea where that's at.
Fiji.
It looks a little warm. It looks a little stormy.
It looks really stormy, actually. I
This to
now
be
you
Canada.
feel like a fan blowing, so your hair does the same thing, the same direction. And you're like, yeah, I'm the true mobile worker here, guys. I'm just gonna taste whiskey out on the beach somewhere.
Yeah, that's that looks like Cannon Beach to me, right? Is that where you're at? Newport, maybe?
Yeah, somewhere near an In-N-Out burger. Or something. I don't know.
Is that where the new one went out to?
No,
I have no idea.
it's somewhere in Portland. The outskirts of Portland.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
Hillsboro, I think they're planning on putting one.
Yeah.
Just have line traffic everywhere then, just because. I mean,
Well, everybody's in line anyway. Might as well put one right on 217.
Yeah.
oh man, I think I would kill someone if that was the case. Like, oh, why is this line so long? Well, I'm just waiting to get a burger. What?
I'm
So
trying to get home.
lives to go to. You've been waiting in line for 2 hours for a burger.
Hell no.
I drove by the Kaiser one the other yesterday, and I don't know what time they opened, but at 9 in the morning there was a line of cars.
It's good.
It's-
Don't get me wrong.
It's early for a burger.
It's good. I just go, we're in the world of delivery. Like, I'm gonna sit in line in my car for 2 hours for a
Right.
burger.
But but if I'm a delivery person, like for Uber or Postmates or whatever, and I see an In-N-Out order come up, I'm not going to take it.
Well,
Hell
but
no.
I guess my point is how our business is gonna succeed in this world, in this day, when I can open a burger spot and I can have it delivery only.
Right.
I don't have to have, a staff that's there to like deal with pissed off people who've been waiting for 2 hours. It's going to be delivered to your home and that's it.
Yeah.
So
What are the
Yep.
hours of the In-N-Out? They're open at 11. Well, that's a different. I don't know. In-N-Out in Kaiser opens at. They close it. They open at 11.
so they were lining up at 9 o'clock in the morning,
Yeah.
waiting for it to open at 11.
Yeah.
Well, color me wrong, guys. You have a cult following or a fanatic religion when you have people lining up outside your door 2 hours before you open.
They do have John 3:16 on their fries.
I mean,
Speaking of
amazing.
religiously good experiences, what do we
so
have
we put
today?
something in our mouth. Middleton.
Middleton, very rare Irish whiskey. This is the bottled in 2019. Apparently, the age statement is aged to perfection.
I mean, should it be any other way? Is the honest truth.
Yes, and this is a product of Ireland. It's very
Have we
good.
done an Irish whiskey yet?
We did. I don't remember which one it was.
Yeah, I can't remember either.
Oh shoot! Whatever. We'll look back on our records. We drank something Irishy.
Irishy?
This is a good one. I think this was I think it retails for $150. I think a bottle, but you get it in a nice, beautiful wood case, so it's fancy Nancy.
I mean, it's funny how times change, but I mean, in the beginning, back in like the 1900s, Irish whiskey was the whiskey.
Oh.
Period.
Oh,
End
yeah.
of discussion. Like Scotch whiskey was inferior. Bourbon was trash. Irish whiskey was what you drank. And then like the Scots launched this massive marketing campaign to basically be like, we're better. And then blended whiskeys came out, and blended whiskeys took the world by storm.
Oh man, this smells so good. Shortbread cookies.
That royally does not suck.
See, and me and Robbie were talking before the show. It's so smooth. Like,
Wow, incredibly smooth.
I know, right? It's almost refreshing. And then you do get that hug in the chest, but the mouthfeel is almost like you got
There's
just
it's-
hydrated.
Yeah, there's nothing there as far as it's not a punch in the face at all.
No, it's almost like a menthol. It's so like,
It's just crisp and clean, but I mean,
oh man.
I mean, this is for me, this is an interesting, I've never had this whiskey before.
What?
I never have. I've had like other versions of Middleton, but I've never had they're very rare. And so it's like Scotch whiskey by law has to be distilled twice. Irish whiskey by law has to be distilled 3 times.
Okay.
I mean, we're getting into vodka territory, technically speaking, but it's not distilled to the same proof that vodka is. Vodka has to be distilled up to 95% alcohol, which means you're going to lose a lot of flavor. Irish whiskey, I think you just have to triple distill it. I don't think you have to distill it up to anything that I'm aware of.
And so that's just their Irish laws.
I believe so, and I could be wrong. You could, I mean, that might not be a law. That might be just a preference of what people do there. I do know the one law that they have is that, actually, no, that's not true. I have to look back into the Irish laws because I'm forgetting them right now. There is a trend, or was, to have Irish whiskey be half malted barley, well, specifically like 50% or less malted barley, and then 50% unmalted barley. And that has to do with, there was a taxation on 100% single malt beverages against Ireland. And so in order to escape that, and the Scots did that to them, in order to escape that, they just found out that you only needed, less malted barley, and then you could have regular barley in there as well.
That's
So
good.
that's where you get the whole pot still.
Yeah.
On most bottles of Scottish whiskey, they can't say single malt, but it is malted barley beverage 100%. Sorry, it is a barley beverage 100%. It is not 100% malted barley. Words.
All Irish whiskey is whiskey, but not all whiskey is Irish whiskey.
Bingo.
Oh, see, and I was, doing bourbon all day yesterday, so this is such a.
It's got to be refreshing.
Oh god, I mean, it's just you don't realize how big of a punch those barrels put on the whiskey until you step away from it. Because these barrels could be, you know what I mean, 3rd, 4th, 5th time used. I wonder if this one says what
Other thing
barrels.
is temperature. I mean, this is Ireland versus Kentucky. I mean, Kentucky's hot and humid as fuck. I mean, it's borderline where Chad's at.
Ireland?
There you go. Never mind. This is just gonna be an entire show of Chad just changing backgrounds, isn't it?
We're in Ireland now.
With your Irish whiskey, it's just, this is our world. But yeah, I mean, the big difference is going to be just the fact that Kentucky's hot as fuck, and so whatever whiskey you're going to age in a barrel is going to age. It's going to age fast, and it's going to infuse fast in the sense of infusing all those barrel flavors. This is more delicate. It's going to pull in those flavors very slowly.
And you're going to lose a lot less. You know what I mean? So the concentration is not as intense. So I don't think I would think you would go in less wild directions than a bourbon would.
I mean, I've definitely tasted a couple Irish whiskeys, and they can go in some pretty interesting directions. But in that sense, though, it's similar to Scotch. I mean, Scotch can go in a bunch of different directions because there's all these finishing barrels. There's do you use peat or not? Do you, how long you age it, where you age it, blah, blah, blah. Ireland's exactly the same.
Well, I mean, and it's even there. Like you compare Middleton to like Bushmills. Like Bushmills is smoke. Like,
or one of my favorite Irish whiskeys, Connemara.
Yeah, they have some seriously peaty whiskeys in Ireland.
Yeah, I mean, their 12 year is on par with Lagavulin.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you were to recommend any whiskey at all to most people that have never had it, I think most people who aren't just bourbon heads would say Redbreast 12.
Yeah.
Which one?
Redbreast 12. It's by basically the same company makes almost every Irish whiskey there is, pretty much. And they have one called Redbreast 12, and oh my god, it's just crushable. It's not hot. It's got flavor. You know what I mean? It's complex enough. Like, you know what I mean?
And that's the other funny thing is, like, this is Middleton, and for those that know, Middleton is the Jameson distillery. Middleton is the Powers distillery. A lot of the big names, a lot of the cheap names come from this distillery.
All the spots, the green spot, yellow spot, red spot.
God, that's just good stuff.
It's just so damn good. And I mean, and it's low proof. It's 40%. You know what I mean? You don't see you don't tend to see Irish whiskeys, and I mean, Redbreast 12 cask strength is pretty fucking delicious.
The interesting one. Oh, sorry, go for it.
I'm saying most Irish whiskeys don't hit heavy and hard. Like it's like, and in fact, they just brought back Blue Spot after like 70 something years, which is their cask strength.
Well, and that's, I mean, the whole like spot line is like this to how it used to be done back in the days, because you didn't sit here and mark like this is a 12 year, this is a 10 year. You put paint splotches on these things, and each type of color, each one made a different type of whiskey, a different age, these things.
So why have they not done Blue Spot in the last 70 years?
The Scotch World wanted this age statement thing. And so what happened was the Scotch World put out age statements as this marketing ploy to be like, no, older's better. And you want to know, I mean, it was this whole thing of like, you need to know what you're getting. And by Scottish law, if you put an age statement on there, it's a minimum requirement of age. It's not a maximum. So, minimum age in that bottle is 12 years if it says 12 years. And they started putting out these 10 and 12 years, which was older than the Irish whiskey standard, because the Irish didn't need to get it to be that old to have it as smooth as it was and clean. And so you had this kind of upheaval of the world be like, well, older's better, obviously. So we just need to buy older stuff. And now the world's kind of twisting again, going, but is older really better? Like, you guys have kind of maximized that old statement, and now you're putting out like 70-year-old scotches that taste like shit and cost $50K. And the only reason you're buying this because you can trade them. Like,
yeah.
So it's kind of this. It's now flipping, and people are trying to take the age statement off. Going, one, we can't keep up with the age statements, and two, it doesn't allow for the whiskey blender to actually have full control. And there's definitely a hard push to give that control back to the whiskey master, the whiskey blender, who,
this is what tastes good no matter how old they have it. Well, this is what we like.
And every barrel when a whiskey master walks into his or her room, it's each barrel is like their child, and each barrel grows up a little bit differently. And so, you have a 5-year here and a 5-year here, they taste different.
Yeah.
And so, and the way it was explained to me is like, it's like children. Like, you can have an 8, a 9, a 10-year-old, and the 8-year-old will be more mature than the 9 and 10-year-old. And that's just because they matured a little quicker. And you know, the 10-year-old's a little behind, and it's okay. It's fine. They're just, you know, they're at their own pace and their own time. Same goes for a whiskey. Same goes for any aged spirit, for that matter of fact. Some things just take a little bit more time and some take a little bit less. And by limiting yourself to like, well, this is a 12-year, then it requires you to kick out all the overly mature 12-year-olds, or not use the underly mature 12-year-olds, and force yourself to create this image, or this image around this 12-year, because you still have to create consistency. But you have to start at 12, and you can't, you know, go the other way depending on what you have. By taking off that age statement, you can create this consistency by painting with every color you have.
So they're not required to have an age statement.
No, that was simply a mark.
Just if you do, it's got to be the minimum.
Yeah.
Or the
Bingo.
okay.
I mean, and now, and you know, it also goes back to before. The longer it sits in a barrel, the less money you're making, because it's sitting in a barrel in the warehouse. You know what I mean? And again, even old isn't necessarily better. Like, they just came out with Redbreast, what, 27 or 23? It's okay. I mean, I wouldn't pay the $300 it costs for a bottle.
Again, it's this balance between like marketing and actual logistics of things. Like, if you can get your spirit to taste amazing and be smooth at 10 years, why are you going past that?
Yeah.
Like, vice versa, if you have to go to 20 years to make your spirit amazing, like, in real honesty, I guess I question, like, are you doing your job right? Like, there's a certain amount of efficiency that you have to look like. We can only romance this for as long as we want. There is
It's like they're just it's like they're just handing it off to the next guy that has the job.
You have to produce this stuff. There has to be.
You're not responsible for your own work.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, it's there was a head to, I want to say Buffalo Trace. He said, or maybe even been Booker, the Booker's head distiller. He goes, a head distiller will be lucky if he sees his best 5 runs get to the huge age statements, like 20, 25 years. You know what I mean? He goes, you may get 5 runs total out of an entire career that make it that far. That make it that far and are good. You know what I mean?
And that's actually an interesting topic, because I mean, and this is my opinion. It's not like I really belong in this world per se, because it's not like I have a ton of experience, but it seems to me, if distilleries were smart and they use modern day knowledge of this shit, you would produce spirits that can be aged quickly and be smooth, i.e. Irish whiskeys, because triple distillation makes it smooth to begin with, and then you're just putting in oak to get that taste and that flavor. You could produce these things fairly quickly, especially without age statements. And then you take your finer things, you know, 1 distillation round or 2 distillation round, lots of flavor, lots of oomph, and then you put them in temperature controlled environments where they're allowed to mature for 25 years, very slowly. Seems to me like that would produce a far higher outcome, a bigger yield.
I always said, I think the biggest jackpot ever would be to take a bunch of bourbon from Kentucky and store it on the Oregon coast. You know what I mean? Where temperatures rarely peak above 75,
Right.
you know, and it's humid, and you're getting all that sea air blowing in off of it. I just can't even imagine how sweet those barrels would be.
And I don't know. I mean, like, the next stage of my life is literally questioning these things, like, as a cocktail distillery, and going, okay, you know, I can source my products from eventually anywhere in the world, and I'm going to hold on to these things in bulk, and I'm going to then create cocktails out of them. Well, if I have the time and I have the luxury, I should be aging certain things. And if there's cool, crazy ideas like, hey, let's try, you know, the 4 corners of Oregon, or let's try burying the barrel in the dirt, or let's sink it in the ocean and see what happens. Let's, you know, hanging off a hot air balloon, it's sit in the air for, you know, a year. I don't know. fuck it, let's try it kind of thing. But I think at some point in time, the whiskey world needs to wake up to the idea of efficiency, in that romance will carry you only so far, because now we're tasting whiskeys continuously, and there is the web and, you know, social media and whatnot that allows us to spread information far faster. And yes, we can spread lies, but truth will also be spread, and people are going to find what's valuable in that most, you know, bang for buck.
Isn't the high
This is
end?
bang for buck.
It
Oh
is-
God. What do you think of it, Chad?
I was thoroughly impressed because there is no, like, I guess the right word is almost refreshing for something like this.
It is. It's like
It's only in, you know, at the back end that you get a little bit of kick. That's
Oh, yeah.
barely there.
like
But
a
the
lot.
flavor's
Some people
all
say
there. And that's,
the mouth is oily. Like it's. I mean, I wish it was cheaper, but you know, it is what it is. You know what I mean? And it's. I think it's.
I could see myself over drinking this one quickly.
Oh yeah, this is. They refer to this as a crushable bottle. Like, you know what I mean? You could stand up after a little bit and go, oh.
Because yeah, you can kind of feel it when, as you're drinking it, you know, you have a good idea of what you're putting into your body.
Yeah.
This one, I don't think it'll surprise you.
Oh yeah, I think, you know. I mean, but see, that's what's crazy. Like, so, like I said, I think this one's. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's 120 to 150 range, I believe. And it's absolutely delicious. But then there's a bottle called Writer's Tears
I've heard that one.
for $40. Fucking crushable. Absolutely, like it's the fruitiest whiskey you've ever had in your life. Like, not artificially flavored. And like, but not like in a fake bad way. Like, you're just like, holy crap. Like, if you ever have $40 to drop on a bottle of whiskey that you just want to try, could not recommend enough Writer's Tears, especially if you like Irish whiskey.
Yeah. My go-to is Powers in the Irish whiskey department. I mean, a good bottle of Powers will set you back $30, if that.
Yeah.
When it comes to
Not like-
artificially flavored stuff, where do you guys like stand? Like with like a Knob Creek, like maple syrup?
I mean, interesting conversation. Let's get into it. First of all, what do we mean by artificially flavored?
Well,
Because
I
most
guess,
of these
okay. Well, that's when the reason why I bring it up over Thanksgiving, go to a friend's house. He's like, "Hey, you want some whiskey?" I'm like, "Sure." He gives me some Knob Creek, but it's maple syrup, whatever, and I've never had it before. And I got barely like 2 sips in. I'm like, I'm good. And I didn't want to be a snob because I'm far from being a whiskey snob.
Chad, virtual high five.
Hey.
Richard, we did it.
Whoop, whoop.
But I was just
ruined
like,
Chad.
I
Officially.
was just like, I'm good. Yeah, you can have the rest. I'm fine. I'm driving.
I don't like them. I think, I mean, to me, I mean, I think it's gimmicky. I mean, it's cool that they're trying it, but then part of me is also like, well, I mean, when we make cocktails, are we not doing the same thing? Are we not flavoring the whiskey?
So what is it? So educate me. What is the maple syrup? Smoked maple syrup Knob
It's
Creek.
exactly that. They put some, maple syrup that they've smoked. Some kind
In
of wood.
during the bottling process, or
Yeah.
Well,
They're-
probably in the barrel. I mean, they probably put it in a big, batch or whatever, measure it out by weight, and then go, okay, we're going to add by weight this much maple syrup. Call it a day.
Yeah.
It's a liqueur.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing. It's like Southern Comfort. Southern Comfort's not whiskey.
The world has been doing this since alcohol was invented, was creating liqueurs, because it's sweet, it's delicious, it's enjoyable, it's easy. But the thing is like, it was a dessert beverage like, or it was something that you put in other things, you cooked with it, or you added in the cocktails. It was your sweetener. It was a way to make flavors last an immense amount of time. Because I mean, most of these flavors that you think about from a liqueur standpoint, like triple sec's been around for 300, 400, I mean, who knows how many years? Like, it's an old ass liqueur, and multiple brands make it. And then you get into the differences between triple sec versus like orange curacao, whatever it's pronounced. It's an orange liqueur. It's just, it is throwing however you want to make it, whether orange peels or full oranges or, you know, dehydrated oranges, whatever, into a grain neutral alcohol, letting it infuse, and then adding sugar. This is no different. It's just new marketing.
Yeah, but so to Richard's point, is it no different than a cocktail?
No, it's not.
No, I mean, it's my thing is I don't have anything against them. I mean, in fact, I'll be burned at the stake for saying it. Every once in a while during the summer, there's nothing better than some peach Crown Royal and a can of peach iced tea. You know what I mean? And it's but I know what I'm doing. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't look at it as whiskey. Like, you know what I mean? I don't think it's not real whiskey to me anymore. You know what I mean? It's just not like, because I look at, you know, again, I want to know about the distillation. I want to know the barrels. I want to know who did what. You know what I mean? Not flavor added, you know, because that's not whiskey to me anymore. Not that there's anything wrong with it. It's just not my cup of tea. And generally they're so far out that it throws me off. The taste, it's gross to me.
I mean, this is where I head with it, is like, liqueurs are meant to be added to other things. I mean, because they're so sweet on their own, you need to balance it. And so back to the question, is the cocktail? Technically, by a dictionary's definition of what is a cocktail, it is the inclusion of spirits, some form of sugar, some form of bitters, and some form of water. And so that beverage is leaving out bitters.
It was not good.
It's not balanced. You need either sour or bitter to balance out sweet.
Yeah.
Those are the two levers you have to play with in the cocktail world, really, and flavor and liquid flavor world. So if you're not going to do that, then you need to add it to something, or it's a dessert. It's something that you're sipping on, you know, after you've had a big meal or whatever, and you just want a little tiny sweet thing to end the night on. By all means.
It reminds me of a lot of port wine.
Yeah.
Where it's good a little bit, but I don't want a whole night of it.
But here's the thing is, even with like good port, good Madeira, good any of those like dessert wines, there's acid. And so you drink it and it's sweet, but on a chemical level, that acidity is ripping that flavor off of your tongue. Because that's literally what acid does. Like, there's these little, if you look at acid as a molecule on a microscope, there's these little claws that literally take the flavor off your tongue and rip it off. And that's why when you drink something like a daiquiri or a margarita, you can't taste it after a few seconds. So you constantly want to, take another sip. And when you have really good wine, that's why you there's this twinge in the back of your mouth. That's your physical reaction. Yeah, so with good dessert wine, there is that presence, so sweet that you necessarily taste it, but on a physical level, it does remove itself from you. So it's not cloying. It doesn't just linger, especially with syrup. Sugar is so thick that it just sits on your palate. So good dessert wine, it comes off. Liqueurs don't have that added to them. They don't think about that process yet, or I don't know. Maybe they do, and I just figured it doesn't work. But it's cloying. It stays there, which is why it's better used in a cocktail with the addition of things like, lemon juice or lime juice.
That makes sense. No, but then I think to myself, why would I want to drink a flavored liqueur or a flavored whiskey when I can drink this? Like, I know all the bourbon hams love their bourbon, and it's good. Don't get me wrong; it's hard to knock a good bourbon. I don't think there's a better sipper than Irish whiskey.
What you're trying to say is that he is financially invested in the bourbon world. he's emotionally invested in everything else.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. And like, like there's a liquor store owner that's trying to get me into rum, and I'm like, dude, one crushing financial hobby at a time. Like, get enough time for your rum. Like, get the fuck out of here. Like, I will never financially recover from this.
No, I don't think any of us will. But
Yep.
that's not what life's about.
But you have fun with it. I mean, it's oh god, that's just good. Like, that is on my, like, my bucket list is I want to sit on, like, looking over an Irish hillside sipping on an Irish whiskey.
I mean, Chad's back picture right there.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, I want to walk around Tokyo listening to Radiohead on my headphones and sipping a hibiki. Like, I mean, there's just certain things, you need to do, I think. And that's one of them,
It's a very specific memory you want to create there, sir.
Oh, yeah. You know what I mean? Like, go big or go home, right?
I guess so. I feel like being in a park in Japan, sipping on like a really awesome hibiki in a nice glass with a big old ice ball in there, would be like some baller shit.
Are you allowed to walk around Japan outside with alcohol?
That's what I was trying to think about. I was like, I
think
I don't know. I mean, people have beers in the park for sure. Have sake and have everything else. So I think so. I don't think you can walk around. I think you have to be in like a place. I don't know.
We'll try it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Field trip. Let's go.
Here's the thing is like at the end, I mean, sorry, Japan, I love you, but sometimes you don't have a backbone. And when you go up to someone who is obviously a foreigner and you go, you're not allowed to do this. And they just go, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know. You go, it's okay. Just don't do it again. And everything's kind of just like fine. Because they don't want to get into a drawn out argument in English with you. Simple as that.
That works.
So, aside from crime prevention issues, Japan laws on drinking in public are generally relaxed. This means that it is legal to drink in public in Japan. You're also able to consume alcohol in parks, at the station, while frowned upon in most public circumstances, even inside a train.
So what you're saying is we need to all be sitting inside a train with really nice glasses with ice in there, all sipping on like hibiki or something, just being like, this is wonderful. And just having everyone glaring at us like, you assholes.
Only if we walk around in like 3-piece suits. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's
leisure,
what makes it.
Leisure suits.
Oh, hell yeah. Or some zoot suits. You know what I mean?
That is one of my time looking and taking pictures of us like, are they celebrities? Should I know who this person is? Googling like, what is this guy?
If you want to go down to YouTube wormhole, look up the lowrider scene in Tokyo. Vice did a really good story on it. It's pretty funny. It'll take you down a wormhole that'll get you at least through 3 nights of watching. It's pretty good.
Lowrider.
Lowrider Japan.
There's no whiskey in it, but it's still worth watching.
I mean, oh, Tokyo, how I do not miss you.
No?
I do not. Love Japan. I would
How
go
much
back to
time
Japan
did you
in a
spend in
heartbeat.
Tokyo?
A year and some change.
In Tokyo.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, that's long enough to get a feel of the place.
I love Japan. I love the Japanese. I think Tokyo is just this like sinkhole of souls in that unless you are in, I mean, actually we were chatting with, today was a date day for my fiance and I. And so we went to this wine bar and there was another guy who spent 5 years in the Kansai region of Japan. So Kyoto, Kobe, and Osaka. And he was like, yeah, I love it there. I spent 5 years there. It was amazing. He's like, yeah, I hate Tokyo. It's just, and we both came to the conclusion it's like a sinkhole of souls because if you just don't have enough wealth to live there, well, and it's an expensive city to live in, then it becomes this like grind every day to just get by.
Is it kind of like Vegas turned up to a certain degree?
It's like New York, but if New York was literally only like Central Park and a couple areas beyond that, and
Times
the
Square.
population of like the entire East Coast was jammed into that.
Jeez.
And from what I understand, it's hard. It's also pretty hard for non-residents to get housing and stuff like that. Like it's
Unless you got money, you're barking up the wrong tree, especially in Tokyo.
Is that just a racism kind of situation?
Oh yeah,
Or outsider?
well, 98% of people that live in Japan are Japanese.
it's
It's
changing very quickly. I mean,
They love
This
our money, but not
man-
love us.
no, it's you have these old ideals and ideas that are just dying out very, very slowly, and they need to die out, but they're just clinging on for all that they are. And I mean, you have ideals such as like, the man works, the woman stays at home, and so I mean, they still are legally allowed to fire you when you get pregnant and when you have a baby. So it's very hard for women in the workplace. It's also just you're expected to work long ass hours, and you're then expected to go out drinking with your company to a certain degree. So it's just you work. I mean, there's a word for working yourself to death, and it happens. At the same time, there's this drive of like, well, if you want to have a real job, you have to go to Tokyo. You have to be in Tokyo. And if you don't make it, then you have to go back to your little hometown, wherever you are, and find some craft that you have to do for the rest of your life. And so these old traditions are kept up in these old small towns, but they're not really like financially viable to, get yourself ahead.
So everybody goes there to try to make it, and those that fail go back fishing.
Basically, at least from what I understand. I mean, and now it is changing slowly. You're starting to have like some seriously cool and creative stuff happening in the smaller regions. And there's a lot of research going on. There's a lot of science. There's a lot of just cool stuff in general going on. And the people who are starting these new things have very open minds and love foreigners and love women to work in the workplace and want to give benefits and do all these cool stuff. But those are new companies, and they're highly sought after, and not everyone gets to work for them.
I desperately still want to go and watch all the awesome cocktail makers there.
Dude,
Did you go to the robot bar or robot
No.
restaurants?
No, I want a human. I want to sit in the one where it takes half an hour for a cocktail to come out, and there's only like 5 tables, and the cocktail guys dressed to the nines, and you know what I mean.
those are amazing. Well, I mean, what I want us to do is go to Tokyo, spend like 3 days in Ginza area to go to the nice cocktail bars, and then head out to Osaka and go drink at all the pubs down there, because those are fun. They are rowdy, they are loud, and the food is delicious, and the whiskey runs easy.
There you go. So to get back to this, where do you put Middleton Very Rare on your Irish whiskey ladder?
My
Rob?
Irish whiskey lab, this is the best I've tasted.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Sturdy bottle too. I highly recommend everybody grab one.
On my whiskeys, I would put in my top 5.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah, it's definitely unique. You know what I mean? And the only thing I could say is there's not, but that's what makes it good. Is like I say, maybe there's not enough flavor, but maybe that is the flavor.
Here's the thing is that, and my mind's still trying to wrap itself around this. It is full flavor. There's a lot going on. It is nuanced, but it is full flavored. And the only way you're getting that full flavor is because it's so smooth and your palate wants to just sit there and play with it. as opposed to, and so from the second it hits your mouth to, you know, when it leaves your mouth, it's just, it's a caress.
Yeah.
Whereas like I take a Booker's and it's a slap upside the face and then a big kiss.
Yeah. I mean, there's, yeah, Booker's is completely rough edge. Like this is a polished rock.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? As opposed to a lava rock. You know what I mean?
Equally beautiful. One just hurts going down.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, no, I mean, I haven't had this in a long time. My in-laws, they actually bought a bottle from the distillery.
Ooh.
And so I wanted one for the longest time, and I finally found one. I'm like, I'll get it. And I've been slowly nursing on it.
Well, thank you, sir. I have to match you with something equally intense next week. What do I have?
See, and I don't think there's a better whiskey for summertime than Irish whiskey.
Brew. Oh, and I can just imagine this with like a small cube of ice in here.
Oh yeah.
Just enough to just lower the temperature ever so slightly, but then slowly dilute and just make it wonderfully crushable.
Oh god, yeah. Because it's not harsh enough where you need to really like mix it down to take, you know, when it's like super hot out, bourbons are just unbearable, in my opinion. I can't do it. You know, it's too much. And I usually switch over to like, you know, Jameson or Saxton or something, you know.
Yeah.
But I mean, what does that say? Even the high end Irish whiskeys, you're not paying more than $150.
I mean, I'm sure you can get up pretty high end. I mean, this is difficult to explain. At 100, let's go the full end of this. At $150, would I pay this price? Yes, I would. At the same time, is this that much better than like a $30 bottle of Powers? No, it is and it isn't. In the sense, like they're both incredibly smooth and they're both amazing. At the same time, I think really only someone who is a whiskey connoisseur, someone who really does taste things, would ever really appreciate this. Because if we fed this to Chad a year ago, he would have been like, what is this? Like, it's light, whatever. And he would have gone back
too delicate.
full powered bottle of rye whiskey that we fed and was like, this is better. There's more going on.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think that someone who just picked this up, like if you are not a whiskey connoisseur and you do not enjoy drinking whiskey, that doesn't mean, if you're a collector, that's great. But if you do not enjoy drinking your whiskey, I don't think you'll get this bottle.
No, I don't think so either. You know,
and you'll be like,
again,
why did I spend this when I could have just bought a $30 bottle of Powers? Same smoothness, but it's the tiny little back notes that you get on this one that just makes it like that much better.
Oh yeah, I mean, and I think it's also, you know, like this is you can't afford. Not two people I know can make $130 bottle, $150 bottle of their daily drinker.
No.
So, you know, it is something you break out on the nice occasions. You know what I mean? Like I said,
With someone who can appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, literally, if you can find a bottle of Writer's Tears, it's fucking delicious. And it's $40. Around, I think it's 30, 35, something like that. Absolutely crushable. Like, there's one, and I think there's a couple different lines of it. There's one, it literally, you smell it, you swear to God, if you close your eyes, you're smelling an apple. And it's not, you know, it's not a flavored whiskey. So you're like, oh, what the hell? Like it is. And even my wife, like, look, I got another one. It smells like pear almost. It's so fruity.
Which bottle's that? Out of curiosity.
I want to. I have one down there. I'll go in my bunker. I'll send you a picture.
Curious. Working on cocktails with the Clear Creek pear brandy.
Uh-huh.
And when you said apple, I was like, tell me more about this apple flavor that you get from this whiskey. Interesting. And then you're like,
yeah,
pear.
no, I mean,
like, stop.
No, oh God, I think I make a great cocktail. Like those ones, I think those ones are sippable as well as perfect for a cocktail because there is such a fruity note to it. Like I think that's why I like Irish whiskey so much is, you get the standard shortbread cookie foot scent, you know what I mean? Like, but there's always this underlying like fruit almost bordering on floral.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think Scotch goes way further into floral, like especially if you get to like Compass Box, where they buy these barrels that didn't fit flavor profile of whatever
Yeah.
distillery they got them from. They go way floral, But I think Irish stays just enough to where it's, you know what I mean, dead center.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you guys liked it. I feel like I picked a good one.
You did. Now I'm challenged to one up you, and I'm not sure if I can.
We'll have to see what we'll have to have Chad pick one time.
Yeah.
Have you guys figure out something cheap and have you guys try to figure out what it is?
Blind taste test on it, and they're like, "This is a $100 bottle." Just lying. It's only 20. I'll be like, it tastes like the delicacy of this one. It's amazing. It's wonderful.
That's Budweiser.
It's a Budweiser. So what's your favorite style so far of whiskey, anyways?
Jeez. The problem is the ones that I mean, all the McCarthy stuff stands out, and I love it but it's also you have an emotional attachment and a bias and all those things, and I'll go to a McCarthy's just to if I'm going to sit down and watch TV. I'm like, oh, okay, I got that here, but so there's. But this I'm going to probably finish this off rather quickly. So, yeah.
Hell yeah. Well, I will get you. I'll get you a sample of the Writer's Tears, Robbie.
Oh, I'll probably just pick one up for the bar, and because now that you said it has that apple flavor, I'm really curious to try it with the Clear Creek apple brandy or the Clear Creek pear brandy and see how those two kind of meld together,
mm-hmm.
and what I can do cocktail wise with that.
That'd be pretty good.
Yeah. My last cocktail I did with the pear brandy was I just made a pear juice from crushing pears and then put it in a soda siphon and carbonated it. And then that bitters and some pear brandy. It was delicious.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Little eyeball. But yeah. Well, next week, what should we do, guys? I got something weird for us to taste before we go into something else. I got something really weird. We're going to do Baijiu next week.
What's that?
So Baijiu is the most drank spirit in the world. Most consumed spirit in the world via gallons of it. It is not really consumed outside of China. It is weird in the sense that it is not created by the base of what it's made from. I mean, whiskey comes from specific grains. Brandies are from fruits. Rum is from sugarcane. Baijiu is the process, and so there's something called a chu. It's spelled Q-U, and it basically has the yeast as well as I don't know what the Chinese name for it is, but a koji mold inside of it. And that causes this two-step fermentation to happen either from barley, rice, sorghum, or a couple other different types of things. And then you distill it, usually 2 times, and then it can be aged in like big vats, not usually barrel aged. But there is a Baijiu distillery here in Oregon called Vin. And they were doing this whiskey. They were making a Vin whiskey, which was their Baijiu aged for like 4 years. It just tastes like whiskey. So my question to them is, what if we made this is weird, like a reposado, a very lightly kissed, like 2 to 3 months old. And we pulled it, and it's to this day, I mean, I have people who are like, I can't drink Baijiu, dude. I went to China and they forced it down my gullet and I can't do it anymore. And they taste this like, that's good. What is that? It's Baijiu, I think. So I have a bottle. It's probably one of the only ones in existence. But let's we'll crack it and we'll taste it and talk about it.
Well, hell yeah. I'm intrigued.
It's I've been wanting to try it with you guys for a while in the sense like we've talked about it on the show before, like about the natural progression of aging tends to find all spirits. I mean, aged gins are now a thing, you know, tequila, which was always a Blanco for so many years, is now getting into the, you know, Reposado, lightly aged, or añejos aged, or even now extra añejos. So now that the Western world is really truly meeting the Eastern world of China, will some of the aging tactics and techniques of the Western world be introduced to the Eastern world? And would that introduce barrel aged baijos to the world? So,
Hell yeah.
Cool.
Sounds delicious.
I look forward to it.
Oh, we all,
maybe the girls to come chat about it too.
heck yeah.
So I will text them this week and see what they are, what they're all about and what they're up to.
Heck yeah. Well, thanks for joining us. Tune in next week. Hit like, hit subscribe.
All those things that, you know, would ever get us some views and people.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good content on here, guys. I'm just going to say it. There's a lot.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
So we'll see y'all next week with Baijo. Laters.
Bye.